All right, there was that. We are live. Thank you for that. I hate that part. Just getting all the clicks going. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Erica. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm so happy to have my fellow QHHT Level 3 practitioners here with us today, Jessica Castro and Erica Middlemiss. And we're going to talk about authenticity and true self and our QHHT experiences and all of that kind of thing. So super, super excited for people that are here tonight. And so I'm going to start though. Jessica, would you introduce yourself and tell us your coming to QHHT story?
Oh
How'd you
gosh.
get here?
Okay. So my name's Jessica Castro. Um, I found QHHT. I suppose Dolores found me in 2020. There's a church across town. It's a non-denominational church, very spiritual, or they have like meetup groups and things like that. In addition to like a little Sunday service, but they talk about all kinds of things metaphysical and spiritual and things like that. So I'd gone one night on a Friday night, and this girl approached me about my hair, and she asked me, I have dreadlocks, and so she asked me, "Oh my God, who does your hair?" And I said, "Well, I do it." And she's like, "Could you do mine?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, no, I'm not licensed." And she was like, "I don't care, I'll pay you whatever you want. You name your price." And I was like, "Gosh, well, if you're that serious, yeah, I guess I could, we already have a lot in common. We're at this church, right? We're already of like mind. So I had her over and she spent the whole weekend. And, by the third day, it was like, so you read any good books lately? We'd run out of things to talk about. And she tells me about these two books that she'd read by this lady named Dolores Cannon. And she's like, have you ever done past life regression or anything like that? And I was like, she's like, "Oh, this lady's a hypnotist. I think you'd really like her books." And I'm like, "I'm not really into hypnosis. I really like I like all this stuff, but I don't think hypnosis is really my thing. What am I going to do? Bark like a dog or something? No,
And
not for
what
me."
were you doing before then? Like what occupationally, like what were you into?
Oh, I have worked in banking for
Okay.
gosh, since forever. That's
Okay.
all I've ever done. And so yeah, so I'm, just doing her hair. She tells me about these books about some lady, some crazy lady. And she's like, "You have to read these books based on everything else that we've talked about. You've got to read these two books." It was Keepers of the Garden and gosh, what was the other one? I think it was Five Lives Remembered were the first two that she recommended. Oh, no, no, it was Between Death and Life. That's what it was.
Ah,
That's
uh-huh,
the first one that I read. And then
uh-huh.
after that was Keepers of the Garden. So Between Death and Life, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a read. I'm always looking for something good. So she's like, based on everything we talked about, you're gonna love this stuff. All right, fine. So I read Between Death and Life, and I've never heard anything like it. I'm very, very open-minded, so it didn't like mess with me, or just like I didn't need time to process it. I was just like, "Well, that's really cool," like never heard anything like it. I love that she could be making this up, but she could be totally telling the truth and nobody could prove her wrong, right? Like we
Uh-huh.
just can't. So that's kind of cool. I was like, "All right, Dolores, you got my attention. I'll read Keepers of the Garden. I'm curious." So I read Keepers of the Garden, and oh my, are you kidding? Aliens? Oh, I'm hooked. I need to read everything this woman has ever written. I need all the books. So I'm an audiobook person. So I read everything that was available at the time in audio in Audible, which were like 8 or 9 books, but I went through all of them. Some of them I read twice just because I just couldn't get enough. And in her books, she doesn't sell it, but she talks about how she teaches her method. And she'll just, I mean, just as it's appropriate to the story, that she's
Uh-huh.
telling at the time. So I'm like, well, I've got some time off coming up from work. So maybe I'll look into her method. That seems like it would be, like a fun party trick, right? I had no idea what was involved. So I looked online, I saw the price, and I saw, oh, yep, nope, that's definitely, nah, not for me. That's too much. And
Uh-huh.
uh, so I put it off. And then towards the end of but immediately after COVID hit. So there was nothing to do. We're all trapped in our houses. And my boss calls me and he says, "Hey, we're going to be laying people off and you're going to get cut."
Oh.
but one of our other departments are hiring, and I really think that you would be a good fit if you run over there. You know, it's a sure thing. You'll get hired. You could stay in the company. Please just do this so you can keep a job. We like nobody knows what's going to happen. All right, fine. So I did it, and it wasn't the best fit for me. I didn't love it like I loved reading these Dolores Cannon books. So I, kind of came to like a crossroads where I thought, okay, I could either do what I was doing before since I didn't like my new job, but I would need more certification, more training. But if I'm going to spend money on training and certification, I mean, I kind of like this whole Dolores Cannon stuff. That's really cool. And it was about the same price. So I had a friend, my best friend was just like, just go for it. Just do it. What do you have to lose? Oh, okay. So so right before I clicked pay now, I was like, maybe I should get a session for myself. Just really like test the water and see if, if I'm gonna like it. So I had a session with this nice lady who lived maybe 20 minutes away. I couldn't believe how close she was. And I asked her a bunch of questions because I was curious about becoming a practitioner. So I asked her a million questions. And she told me that if I decided to become a practitioner, once I had, passed the test and become certified, that she would be one of my first clients. And I thought, oh, you're going to help me? And she was like, yeah, I love helping people. And, like, I'm happy to help. And I was terrified. I'd always been in banking. So I've never, opened my own business before. And she told me she would help me. And sure enough, she did. So she was one of my first clients, but not the first one. And then she helped me get an office and just kind of, kind of showed me the ropes. This kind of guided me and nudged me. Not, she didn't certainly didn't do anything for me, but yeah, it was amazing. And it's unbelievable. Just even for anytime I was ever unsure or like, gosh, what am I going to do next? Or how am I going to get more clients? I mean, a door would open like the very next day. It was incredible. And so I just kept going. And I thought, well, gosh, I really want to, if I'm going to do this, I want to be the best that I can be. So my goal was always, once I started, the goal was always to become a level 3. So
Way cool. Way cool.
uh-huh.
Way cool. So this other practitioner, is she still practicing?
I don't no,
Oh,
actually, once I finished my first 25, she approached me and asked if because she was doing two businesses. So she was doing QHHT in addition to sonograms for expectant mothers.
oh, uh-huh.
So she said, sometimes what people come in and share when they share their life story can be really heavy. And so she said it's starting to affect her, and she really just enjoyed the expectant mother side of things a lot better.
Mhm.
So she said she wanted to focus on that business. So she asked me again, another door opening, if it would be okay. She said, "Hey, I'm thinking about taking a break from hypnosis. Would it be all right since we're in the same office area? Could I give my clients, could I pass them along
Wow.
to you?" And I was like, are you sure you want to do this? Because I'll say yes right now. And she was like, no, I'm sure. I've really been thinking about it, and this is a perfect opportunity. So I don't have to just like leave anybody hanging. So I was like, yes, immediately, right now.
So
So,
she was your portal in like a
oh, I
lot
mean, it
of
was
ways.
amazing. I
That's
couldn't have
crazy.
asked. I have no idea where she came from. She's like an angel.
Wow. 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 All right. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome then.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Erica, tell us about your QHHT story. I've heard it. I want to hear it again.
Which part, Hallie? I tell it different, I think, every single time
I
because
oh,
long, it's a very long story. So we'll see what parts of it actually come
okay.
up this
Okay.
time. But first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. This is really fun. So I began my journey as a naturopathic physician. I knew from the time I was 3 years old that I wanted to help people heal, that I wanted to explore the body, see how it worked, help people keep it healthy, like so early. And so of course I went to medical school because that's what you do,
Of
become a
course.
doctor, right? But through my schooling, through my biology degree, I came across an angel. We always have these angels in our paths. I'm glad you said that, Jessica, because I had to take a class at a different school, organic chemistry. My class was kind of like I couldn't pass it. I
Mhm.
passed it with a D, and that you can't pass. I wasn't going to do that. So I had to go take it at this other school down the street, which was going to be way easier to pass, which I did. And it just so happened I got a B in that class, and it was easy, and it didn't seem like it was hard at all. I don't know what was going on in my class, but um, the professor there said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I want to go to medical school, but I want to do natural medicine because I'm learning that the body likes natural better." And he said, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And I said, "Well, I'll probably go to chiropractic school and then maybe specialize in some natural therapies." And he said, "Do you know that there's naturopathic medical schools?" And I was like, "What?" No. Like, I can go to one school and be a real doctor, like a 4-year program where you get a medical, you take board, you get a medical license, all the things. And I could also learn acupuncture, Chinese medicine, homeopathy, botanical medicine, physical medicine, meaning like the chiropractic adjustment stuff, all of that, nutrition. Yeah, sign me up.
Wow.
So I did that right out of college, went to school for that, became a doctor and started practicing. And then doing all of these wonderful natural therapies and seeing these patients for extended periods of time and seeing over and over again that while these treatments and therapies are wonderful, they're just a natural band-aid. And these people really need to focus on what's going on mentally and emotionally
Mhm.
and how to help them get there.
Mhm.
I know that's what it is because I can see it and I'm seeing the patterns. Kind of good at pattern seeing. So over and over again, I'm seeing like, oh, this is coming from this and this is coming from this mental thing. And because as naturopaths, we do talk about their life history. We talk about all of it, especially if we're doing a homeopathic interview. You're getting every minute detail.
Mhm.
I'm very used to talking to people for long periods of time. But yeah, even then, homeopathy was probably my favorite of all the modalities because it does touch this mental and emotional piece. Um, but it's not that piece that we really need, which is
Mhm.
that being in touch with our own inner being, our own guidance, our own messages that we get, through our own self, our own guidance. So I was like, I gotta figure this out somehow. I was writing prescriptions for meditation over and over again because I'm like, here, just go meditate. That's what you need. We all need that. I mean, to this day, I still will every single person. I find this to be an absolute requirement along this journey. So, but that's not helpful if you're not giving them anything else.
Right.
So, so at the time, now I'm going to back up a little bit, and this is where the story. I think you're going to get all of it. Okay,
Okay.
so back up to college time when I was watching a Nostradamus thing on the History Channel. Now, college time is late 90s. Okay. So, and I'm watching this documentary, and they're saying that this explosion is going to hit the New York City and the towers. And then after that, there was going to be the earthquake in California, then it was going to fall off. So I was at the time, I grew up in Philadelphia. I was dating a man a young man that lived in North Jersey. So I'm right outside of New York City, which is where him and his family lived. And I turned to him and said, well, I had already had the plan to go to Arizona for school. And I said, well, okay, when 2001 comes in the fall, we'll just bring all your family out to Arizona so that they don't, whatever happens here. So I just felt that was going to be true. And
Right.
in that, there was this woman talking about the Nostradamus prophecies. And something about her, I was like, oh, she's cool. Okay, forget about it though. Like completely erase that until 2001, that happened, right? So then I'm thinking, well, now California's going to fall off all day. But that wasn't supposed to happen until 2012. Now I'm living in Arizona and I want to move to California, but it's like 2009, 10, and I'm like, but it's going to fall off like in a couple years. Let me research this and see like what's new. So I came across a whole ton of new Earth stuff. First I found somebody else, and then I found Doloress. Now she's much older, doesn't look like that woman on the History Channel at all. So I don't make that connection. But I'm listening to her talk and I'm like, my eyes just got so wide because I'd already been reading so much in terms of spirituality and metaphysics. Like since I was 18 or 19, I was a Reiki practitioner by the time I was 20. So like I had a lot of these ideas in my mind. I had read like the Law of One, the whole series. So by the time I found Doloress and she was saying all of this stuff that either I had read in a book or had like thought to myself, maybe I had a mushroom trip and I had this like, realization or something, like I did when I was younger. But yeah, I heard her talk and I was like, oh my God, this lady's got it. She's got it. Like she just figured it all out. She knows how to get people to this place that I can't get them to. So now I have to learn how to do this. And there's more to the story, but I'll end it there. I wound up doing it. 2013 was when I took my class, and Doloress was still alive at that point, but I was a single mom with she was like, I don't know how old she was. Doesn't matter. She was little, and I wasn't about to bring her to Arkansas for this class. So I got on the waiting list for the online class. I was like the very first person on that list. Like the minute I got the email that was coming out, I was like, sign me up right now.
That's cool.
So yeah, I took the online class in 2013. And then, yeah, it was on from there. I mean, from my first client ever who I thought, is this actually going to work? And I was so scared. And I don't think I did anything right, but like listen to her story and read the induction. And luckily this woman was like an absolute just, amnesic somnambulist type of lady. And she knocked right out. She remembered like the first 30 seconds of it and went into this whole Merlin crystal cave story. It was fantastic. So I was sold.
That's cool. That's way cool. Yeah. So you were still doctoring at the time. Was there like a transition period, or did you just drop it, or do you still do the medical stuff? Or?
I did the clinical stuff up until about a year ago, until I finally just got completely done with both worlds. I couldn't do both anymore. It was just, it's too much to do sessions and then the next day go do clinicals and then a session and then clinicals and then it was plus I have a little one now who's 5 and no. So but yeah, it was a big transition actually, because it took a while to build up to a place where I could actually, pay the bills. Doing it. And so and luckily I started with my patients, like, come see me for this.
Right.
We didn't have the same rules as we do now back then, but I made my own rules and they're kind of the same. Like I refused to charge people at the beginning, or if they wanted to give me a donation, it was just like a simple $150 or something. And then my patients were like, honey, no, you're not going to spend this much time with me. And then so
step into your worth, right? Yeah.
We take a lot of time with people. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's intense. There, you mentioned too about how bad you, on reflection, how much you've improved since that first session. And that reminds me of my level 3 training. And it was just like, oh my God, everything was wrong. It was like horrible. And how much my technique changed after level 3 training. And to the point of, I wanted to go back and send all of those prior clients an email and go, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did.
I was doing it wrong.
You know what though? Here's the thing. Like they do everything, doesn't matter the client to the practitioner. It's always what you need. It's always exactly what's perfect at that time. Like my first session could have been better. Absolutely, knowing what I know. But it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I needed to doubt what was going on. I needed to have all that doubt so I could actually understand what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure there were elements of, I needed to, know that I was doing that thing wrong and correct it, because I needed to learn through that process as well as everybody else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we've got people on the live. So I want to have had Donna has introduced herself, but if you're on, well, not if you are online, I can see you're online. Those who are online, if you would please introduce yourselves and just tell us where you're from, say hi and where you're from, and then interject your questions at any point in time. This is super casual. We're just the three of us chit-chatting here and telling our QHHT stories to the world. So keep the questions coming. All right. So my next question, I want to interject. So what, as a QHHT practitioner, and for those that aren't familiar, so just the teeniest, tiniest little tidbit about what QHHT is. So sessions are 5 to 7 hours. You come in and you only ever have one session, unless there's some compelling reason for another, but typically. And so you come into the session with all the questions you want to ask the higher self. There's lots of names for the higher self: soul, oversoul, superconscious, true self. We're going to talk about that tonight. All sorts of names. You come in with all the questions. So these are questions about relationships, life decisions, physical health, mental health, past, present, future, doesn't matter. And then you and the practitioner spend a few hours making sure that your practitioner understands not only your questions, but the context around your questions. Then you go into the hypnosis. The hypnosis itself is over 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours long. You're in this very, very, very deep trance where you are connected to this aspect of you, this higher self, soul, oversoul, whatever you want to call it. And they're speaking through you to your practitioner in conversation about your questions. And all of that's audio recorded. Then the practitioner brings you out and debriefs a little, maybe, if at all, but then you have your recording. And then the big deal is you then listening to that recording over and over and over and over again as you move forward and you heal. So that's a little bit about a QHHT session. So me and Jessica and Erica are in conversation with this eternal aspect of our clients that is connected directly to source. And it's a pretty cool job. And we find out pretty cool stuff. So I want to ask, so Jessica, I'll start with you. I want to ask, what first pops into your mind when I say, what's been one of your biggest aha moments in conversation with the higher self? What's been like a whoa for you in those conversations?
I think when I first started, I think at first I was just really excited about the whole past life aspect of it. I was like, oh, I just want to hear these stories. I don't care about your life story. I don't care about your questions. I just want to get to the past life part. I thought that was so cool. And later, like as I continued and I guess I evolved as a practitioner, I learned to appreciate every aspect of the session. People are telling their life stories, which to me are incredible. And then you do the past life portion, and who knows where you can go. You might not go to past lives. And then you transition into the higher self, the subconscious, whatever you want to call it. And I think like just one of the biggest aha moments was like, holy cow, I have the honor of interacting with this force, energy, just like, am I even worthy? Holy cow. Like what a big deal. What a huge responsibility. And I don't know. It's overwhelming. It's an honor. It's very, but it's also humbling. So I think it's just that in itself is just like, holy cow. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Right. Being in the presence of them.
Yeah. And being able to interact and have a conversation in a way that, that you haven't before. You don't know how you're interacting with everything around you until you actually, until you can sit down and have a conversation with it.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. How about you, Erica? You've been doing this for a while, as have I. So
Yeah.
a lot of aha moments for me.
Now, It's crazy. It's like over a decade, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah. So, and it's changed so much in terms of where we are as a collective in our energies, right?
Mhm.
So the clients that I see, everyone is changing and evolving. And so that's why it's changed so much. It's really fascinating to watch, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Uh-huh.
Um, let's see. I think there's not one specific thing, but what it is for me is the true understanding of oneness
Mhm.
that we're getting.
Mhm.
Like that's absolutely
Mhm.
mind-blowing
Uh-huh.
because every single client will say the same exact phrases, same exact phrases.
Uh-huh.
They don't
Uh-huh.
know. They have no idea, and they're saying the same exact stuff. You know, you're talking to this one
Uh-huh.
every time.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, they do things sometimes to me where they interject things for me that are part of that person's session, but only mean something to me, like something random, like as an example. And sometimes I'm like, what? What did you just say? Can you repeat that? Okay, moving on. Like, wow, you know, because I needed that.
Uh-huh.
And that mutual reciprocity, I just think it's really like it's such an honor, like you were saying, to do this work and then to also receive something at the same time.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, what's happening here?
Yeah.
that is wild.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a couple times where it's like, oh gosh, oh,
Oh yeah,
are you talking to me?
yeah,
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
I have this quip that I've thrown out before, I say I'm a past life regressionist that doesn't believe in past lives. It's kind of half-heartedly true, but first, if there's no such thing as time, because that's the other thing you realize, that's an aha moment for me, is like past, present, future, simultaneous, parallel, whatever you want to call it. We witness all of that too, right? Or lives in an outside of time place, right? Um, and so how can a past life be past? It's all now, right? And that's how we heal, because that past life energy still exists and is a residual kind of thing in this life that may or may not be harmful, but they're connected, right? All of your lives are right now. And then to your point, Erica, is like, well, how can I have my past life? Because from that perspective, we're all one.
Yeah.
So my past lives are everybody else's past lives, and there's not really, it's kind of like Jello over there of who's who, there's not these hard boundaries, right?
And it's funny too, because depending on what kind of past life or other life or, you know, that you're seeing, it really could be more oneness. Like you actually, like say you're in your orb collective, which
Yeah.
I have a really cool story about simultaneous time if we want to hear it, because I was going to
Yeah,
tell it.
yeah.
But like when you're in that collective, you're all one. Like you see and feel all together.
Yeah.
So in one of my sessions, I have had two full sessions. Uh, I saw myself as an orb, and my practitioner took me to a call to where this woman was distraught, so grief-stricken, and I could feel every ounce of her pain.
Wow.
And I was above her, seeing her from above, and the minute she called and asked for help is when I came down to her,
Mm.
and I surrounded her with myself as the orb, and she could
Mm.
feel, when you call for help and all of a sudden you can feel that feeling of being blanketed by
Wow.
your angels. She felt that, and she could feel like she could breathe for a second.
Wow.
And I knew one day that I would meet this woman. I just knew it. I didn't know who she was, but I knew I would meet her. Long blonde hair. And I didn't see her face. I just saw her from behind because I came down, you know.
Mm.
Well, a few months later, a friend of mine said, "Hey, Erica, tell her your orb story." I was like, okay, this is just a neat orb story. Just having that experience, I thought was really cool. So I was telling her that, and she just started crying immediately. And she said, that was me. I felt you. And like she recalled everything about it and
Wow.
was so distraught. And where she was,
Mhm.
and it was in Mount Shasta. So when I went to Mount Shasta and saw that place, as the orb, I could hear water, but I couldn't see it.
Mm.
Heard it.
Mhm.
Well, when you go to this meadow in Mount Shasta, you don't see the water. It's
Mhm.
trickling underneath
Mhm.
there when you get up really close. So
Mhm.
when I was there on foot, I got to see
Wow.
all the reality that I saw as the orb. But that was me now and her now and
Right. But you as an orb and yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
that's all now.
yeah,
And there's an aspect of her that's an orb now
right.
that I call on, I'm sure.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
and when we know these aspects of ourselves, we can call on them to help ourselves. Like we
Mhm.
know what to see, to call, to imagine, and it's even more
Mhm.
powerful, bringing in that aspect.
But what an amazing gift to be given the opportunity to meet her in the physical,
Oh yeah.
physical to physical.
And
Like
she's one of my
what?
best friends in the world. Like
Wow.
soul sister beyond, beyond, beyond.
Like the probability of that. Like what a rare, it's like a diamond, like that's so rare.
It's like the universe does these little things.
Mhm.
They just like make us do this. I've been seeing so much of it in recent years that it's just like, you hear, yes.
That's so cool. That's so cool. All right, so we're supposed to be talking about our topic is authenticity, unveiling the true self. So let's start with definitions. What do you, in your mind, when I say authenticity, what does that mean? Erica, what does that mean for you?
For me, it means being who I am, expressing my true feelings,
Mm,
speaking my truth,
mhm,
and being okay, comfortable doing that. So
mm,
that's the part that we don't all have down.
right.
All these pieces we don't all have down because they're not all easy, because we're afraid that we're maybe gonna hurt someone's feelings, not be approved of, all of that.
Mhm.
But when we can let all of that go and just be who we really are and express ourselves honestly, that's where our true freedom comes in.
Yeah. What do you think, Jessica? What is authenticity?
I agree. I've always said that it's you got to be the you that you could be,
Mm,
whatever that means.
mhm. Yeah,
But go in the way that you're drawn to the most, or
yeah.
chase your
I think
happiness.
there's a lot of healing though around even knowing who you are, for
Mhm.
any individual,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a little bit of training that goes on in our society of ignoring the true you, right? Of ignoring yourself for whatever reason, for approval or grades or jobs or whatever, right? Isn't there a little bit of a process of squelching ourselves, of learning how to do that? And then we got to unlearn how to do that.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of programming
Yeah, yeah,
These false beliefs that
yeah,
keep us separated, like we were talking about.
and fear, a lot of fear.
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of fear, and which is separation. That's you
yeah,
can't be afraid if you're in the oneness.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got to know yourself. There's a little bit of facing your own fears, right? The facing your own fears about yourself.
And being okay with people not approving of you.
Mhm,
Yeah.
I think that's a really big piece because we all know what we're passionate about. That's an easy thing for people to tell you, the things that light them up.
mhm,
But is it what we're actually doing with our
mhm,
lives?
mhm,
That's always, not always, but a lot of times that's different.
mhm,
And that's where the disconnect can be because usually we're doing something that society told us, well, you should do this. You should
mhm.
get married and have 2.5 kids and go to law school and do your thing,
Right.
get a mortgage and have a nice, all of that, those shoulds that your parents, a lot of people's parents want them to go through all these little steps. And if you don't do that, if you just want to be an artist and dance all day, no one's
Mhm.
going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what your heart wants to do. And that's how your heart sings. So to break that boundary of, all right, I don't care what you think, I'm gonna sing and do my art all day. That's hard to do.
Yeah, yeah. You just triggered a thought in my mind. One of the things that Julia Cannon always says, I don't know where this came from. I've only heard it from her. I don't know if she's the one to quote or not, but I love her little saying of don't shit on yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually there's a Wookiee Foot song that's called Shut on Me. But I think that saying's been around for a little while. But yeah, don't
Yeah.
shut on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So one way of finding your authenticity is maybe reflecting on how are you shitting on yourself, right? How are you saying, well, I should do this, I should do that, I should do this, I should do that, as opposed to I want to do this, I want to do that. And I don't think that that means that you don't ever sacrifice. I don't think that you being, the most you that you can be means not serving others, right? You can be in service, you can be sacrificing and doing things, and it isn't all about, well, me. I'm only going to do what I want to do. You can be deeply in service and being in alignment with what you want to do, right?
I think that's actually the point. Not the point, but like that's actually it. That's how we are in service is by coming here, being authentically ourselves and fulfilling our purpose in that way, because that's what we came here to do. So whether it's the artist or the lawyer, everyone has that purpose that they came in, that they're passionate about. Yeah, be that.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll get a little personal here, but this is for advice. So for you personally, how do you make sure that you are living authentically? How do you demonstrate your authenticity to the world?
I'll let you answer
Jessica?
first, Jessica.
I have I guess in more recent years, or maybe right before I found QHHT, the thing I challenge myself to is how can I be more positive just in general and in the way that I live? So instead of saying I have to do something, anytime I catch myself saying, "Oh, I have to get out of bed today." Ugh. I'm changing it to I get to get out of bed today. I get to clean the house. I get to do the dishes, which just kind of changes the mindset. And then it's also
Gratitude.
anytime, yeah, and anytime I interact with people, even if there's something like if somebody's getting on my nerves, or if there's something that I just, I have to give negative feedback or anything, I try to, my mind says, okay, before you speak, what's the most positive way that you could say this? What's the most positive message that how could you most positively get this across? So instead of saying, like, oh, I did a horrible job, you could say, well, it wasn't terrible, but I've got some room to grow,
Yeah.
So just anything like
Is there a symbiosis there though of like being mindful, right, of your own sense of gratitude? It seems like there's two things going on at once. It's broadcasting your authenticity to the world, but it's also doing a little bit of changing what's going on internally to make that gratitude more authentic. Does that make sense? Like it's working on you and through you, both.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a game changer.
Yeah. Cool. I found too that, one of the things that I teach when I'm doing my higher self integration program is I kind of say, well, you can kind of lump all of human experience into two columns. And the column headings is fear and love, right? And so under fear is all kinds of things, jealousy, anger, whatever, use a giant list. And then under love is laughter, fun, all kinds of things. But the bridge in between those two, so once you find yourself in the fear column, well, then how do I get over it? How do I get out of it, right? How do I get over to that love column? And what I found is like the super highway between those two columns is gratitude. Because you can't be in a state of gratitude and a state of fear simultaneously. So once you recognize, oh, I'm in the fear column, I don't want to live my life in the fear column. I want to live my life in the love column, right? Gratitude gets you over into that love column. So I love that focus, that mindfulness of the gratitude. Yeah, that's cool.
Huge.
How do you tap into your authenticity, Erica? How do you do that for yourself?
So I've been a people pleaser my whole life,
Mm,
many of us. And so for me, that means saying no when I want to say no.
mhm,
And I'm gonna say that I'm still working on it. It's not so easy all the time because yeah, there's people I don't want to disappoint.
mhm,
But the more you say no, the easier it gets. The more
mm,
you just say, like I I had this thing with my dad over Christmas time. And he was just, he wants dinner and he wants his things and like, he's on his time schedule. And I said, you know what? I need some space. I need to go take some time to myself right now.
mm,
Normally, I would have let him push that and I would have overworked myself and then freaked out later
mhm, mhm,
because
mhm,
I was being overburdened.
mhm.
But this year I said, you know what, Dad, I need a break. I'll be back. I need to take care of myself. And he was not okay with that.
Oh.
There's a reason why I'm like this. Right? And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do me. And I
Mhm,
left. I just walked out.
mhm,
And that was okay. And
mhm.
everyone survived and
Yeah,
everyone learned. And it wasn't the end of the world.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
love that.
definitely one sign that you're not living authentically is if you have the martyr mask on.
Yes. I'm doing all of this for you and no one's appreciating me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Been there,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. It's funny too, because, I'm sure in your sessions, the other freaky thing to me is that people will come in with maladies and, you'll get into session and I'm already in the interview. I'm going, well, I know exactly what they're going to tell him about his back pain, right? Because they tell everybody the same thing about their back
Right.
pain, right? And these people don't know each other from Adam, but you know exactly what the higher self's going to say. And they often, I would say 99% of the time, there's outliers, of course, but back pain is carrying, the person is too busy carrying other people's burdens. You're not going to get back pain from carrying your own burdens, but you'll get back pain if you're carrying other people's burdens for them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you hear that about back pain a lot? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it sometimes they don't even tell you that they have back pain, but they're carrying the weight of the world. And so you're like, so how's your back? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it too, because when we get into the healing part with the higher self, I usually start with just a body scan, right? I've got their list of maladies, right? But I'm just gonna let the higher self go first, right? Would you please scan Joe's body for me, right? And of course, like the first 5 things is not, they weren't even on his list.
Every time. It's always things that are not on the list that come out first.
Yeah.
Or like the ones that have a list and then you ask and it's like, everything's fine. Really? They're completely healthy, everything's fine. Well, yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me read some of the comments. So they're going, same for me. I'm working on that as well. Definitely changing the mindset. So that's with what you introduced there, Jessica. I've been learning to reframe a lot of things. Appreciation also helps you get into the love column. Yep. And then we're all a work in progress. Like Abraham Hicks says, we never get it. Oh, I can't read that. We never get it done and we never get it wrong. Yeah, it's always a work in progress. Yep. When do you learn your lessons? When are you done learning your lessons? Yeah, on your last breath. Yeah.
Exactly. We won't be here anymore. Game over.
So let's flip the coin. What, in your mind, what does inauthenticity look like? Right? We've talked about that. Shouldn't on yourself and playing the martyr. What other kinds of things are like wah, 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 inauthentic? What comes to your mind, Jessica?
Negativity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't even like saying it.
Now we're here to experience all of the duality,
We
right? The
are.
good and the bad, the yin and the yang, the black and the white. So we have to appreciate the negativity as well. We don't have to have it hang around, but we can appreciate
No.
it.
I mean, but sometimes you don't have a choice, you know, you're in the grocery store and the guy behind you is mad because you're taking too long, but he's just having a bad day, you know, or
Yeah.
just could be anything, could be anywhere. It's tough though, you know, because you know, now you know, it's like, oh, you're having a tough time. It's not me, it's you.
Yeah. And I think 9 times out of 10, when you start peeling that onion, you just get back to some form of fear,
Yeah.
right? The little ego, it's like ego language is fear. Little ego is going, you know, what about this? What about that? What about that? What about that? I feel the ego saying, I don't feel safe, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to scream my negativity for attention. Yeah. How about you, Erica? What else?
I think anytime we lie or manipulate to get our own way,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not being authentic with ourselves and we're not being authentic with the other when we do
Right.
that. Same thing with honesty. It's like when we're honest with other people, we're actually being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a really big thing to remember. It's like, this is always a mutual thing.
Yeah.
These people are our mirrors. Yeah. And they need it just as much as we do. So I think it's important that we're all kind of stepping into our own authenticity as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Speaking our truth. This is a huge one the higher self is always bringing up. Speaking your truth. Speak your honest feelings. Because if you continue to swallow them, nobody's going to know what it is that actually is going on. When we actually are able to honestly communicate, then, oh, look at that. Everyone has the opportunity of truth and then gets to decide how they want to behave. It's
Right.
beautiful all the way around. Like it
Right.
might hurt someone's feelings for a second, and then they'll get over it because we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
carrying it on inauthenticity, the lies, the deceit, the manipulation, that's way
Yeah.
worse. We
Yeah.
think we think we're holding it back, like, oh, I don't want to hurt him, but way worse.
Well, what you're doing is when you're holding back like that, you're especially if it's in a close relationship, and I love that example you gave earlier, you're not really loving them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even the love is inauthentic, the presumed love, right? Because if you're gonna really love someone, then if you're holding back something from them, your true feelings, then what the heck kind of relationship that is that in the first place, if it's supposed to be a loving relationship, right?
We see many clients who have these relationships because they come in because their bodies can't handle it anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the more we hold it in, the worse and worse it gets.
Yeah.
Like imagine trying to hold all that in, and eventually it will start doing this. So when we
Yeah.
see people have conditions that are like that, that's why.
Yeah. 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 You will literally make yourself sick. Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
Yes. And your body will try to shake it out of you, like get it out of you in all sorts of different ways.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. All right. So, authenticity looks like love too, then if we could say that. Inauthenticity looks like deceit, lies.
Holly, that's the best definition I've ever heard. For real.
Yeah.
Authenticity is love. That's it. Period. End
Yeah.
of story. Show over.
Yeah. And I think too, Jessica, do you have kids? I don't even know this about you.
I have a daughter.
Okay. So I think being a parent that, not that you can't, but that you could have had a whole lot of what you thought were loving relationships that weren't until you're a parent. And then you're like, whoa, this is love, right? But you also know simultaneously as a parent, it's not boundarylessness. You know, you have this huge responsibility as a parent to be honest, set the boundaries, you know, do hard things that aren't pleasant, you know, say hard things that aren't pleasant because you genuinely love your child. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
I want to add fur
Well,
baby in there.
I'm sorry.
Gotta add the fur babies because I first learned this
Yes.
with my first fur baby, that unconditional love. It obviously is heightened when you birth a human, but it is the same feeling.
Yeah. 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 All right. So what's the payoff? Why? Why even go do all this soul searching? Am I loving myself? Am I in fear? Am I in deceit? Am I really showing up for myself and others around me, even when it's difficult? Why? Why bother? Why not go with the program?
Gosh, it's so freeing.
Mm.
I mean, you have so much weight that's just lifted off. Like you don't have to carry the burdens that a lot of times that people carry. We carry them for other people all the time, and we don't have to. You know, when we don't realize it, we don't even know when we're doing it most of the time. Once you realize, hey, this isn't mine to carry, and I don't have to carry this, and their journey is theirs, and I can help them through their journey, but I don't have to carry the weight for them.
Mhm.
Oh gosh. Now you
Mhm.
get to live your life. Now you get to figure out who you are. Oh, I mean, why not? You know?
Yeah. And I think that that resonates with what you just said, Erica, about the thinking about going into homeopathy and whatever, how different QHHT is. We're not healers,
Mm-mm.
not even remotely. We have zero responsibility for the healing in a QHHT session. We have 100% responsibility for the hypnosis,
Oh my
but
God.
you're healing you. And I love that, right? I love that how much more authentic can the healing be when it didn't even come from anybody else? It only came from you. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
best.
Cool beans. Cool beans, Jessica. Yeah. Yeah. Set down the burden, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Jessica, exactly what you were just saying. I made a meme about this. You know, not a meme, like a picture with
Mhm.
words on it.
Yeah.
That says "not my journey." Hashtag
That's perfect.
freedom, because that's what you get when you release everybody else's journey and you're not worried about this person's decision and what they're doing. It's not your journey. They
Mhm.
made a bad decision,
I
not
also
yours.
I love that in every one of Dolores's books, she reiterates that this is their journey and you don't have to carry it. I don't have to carry it. I was in session with someone and she stopped. She was telling me something awful that had happened to her, and she stopped and she said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. This is probably a lot, and I don't mean to put all of this on you." And I was like, "I'm going to stop you right there. I'll stop you right there." And I told her about Doloress Cannon and how Doloress Cannon kind of sprinkles these lessons in every single one of her books. So I have it beaten to my head. Like, this is what I believe is how I live my life. So she doesn't have to worry because I'm not going to take this home with me. This is part of her journey. And at some point, she planned all of this. And she stopped the session right there and was like, if the session ended right now, I got my money's worth out of it. That was the best piece of advice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
And that kind of gets back too to that martyr. There's a whole lot of light workers that put on the martyr mask,
Okay.
and that's not the point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we think, it's our job to heal everyone and take care of it for them. And yeah, like we have some kind of control over that.
Mhm.
And like we have any control over anyone else's journey or their decisions or their healing. Zero. Even as practitioners, even as skilled guides, we still have zero control.
Mhm.
90% what happens in a session is up to that client, right?
And
Right.
isn't it fun just being a practitioner, because I think I think becoming a practitioner has really helped me to be a lot more authentic and understand what that means for me. But it's also helped, um, you know, in just learning how not to carry other people's burdens and
Yeah.
how to help them with theirs, you know,
Yeah.
and just encourage them to think through, like, well, what do you think you should do in this kind of situation? You don't even have to fix it for them or suggest how to fix it. Just get them to kind of think about how.
I had this
Well,
client
but
a year or so ago, 16-year-old boy, man, gentleman. He was actually the son of a, a, a previous client. So, and 16 is as young as we go, right? And so they take this young man to a past life, and he is and in this life, this kid is golden, love, just gorgeous, just like giving, loving, beautiful person. And they show him this past life in like 1920s, 1930s. He's a killer for like Al Capone. He's a hired killer. That's his job. Okay, every day he goes out to work, it's to kill somebody. He's a hired murderer. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, whoa. First of all, I'm like, dang, higher self. This is a lot for this kid to take. But if you're showing it to him, right? I mean, it's
There's a reason.
obviously you know what you're doing. I don't have to judge what you're doing. But then I'm thinking, well, now that's me placing a judgment on this life and it being, less than the life that this person's experiencing now. I mean, all life is precious. I mean, not that we want to let murderers run rampant or bring Al Capone back, but that, his soul had that experience for a very intentional purpose. And I don't have any sort of burden or responsibility of like protecting him from that or fixing that for him, smoothing over the edges of that for him. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Well, you would be ruining his growth process if you did.
Exactly. Exactly. Ruining the QHHT process too. Like,
Well, and when we can think about like that for other people in our lives and their journeys, just stay out of it. It's none of your business. Like, don't mess up their journey. You're not going to ruin it, but just get out of there. You don't need to make it dusty for them.
But that's what's so cool too, is that the subconscious already chose that client to have that session so that they would best understand whatever the point was that they needed to, which is really cool. Like, you know, you can't make up the perfect Goldilocks and the Three Bears story for everybody.
right. Right. It wouldn't do what it needed to do. That's exactly what you needed. My job was to step out of the way and let him see all the blood and guts. Because obviously he needed to see it.
You know what, Holly? Those are honestly for me, those are the worst because I've had some that are really rough, like way rougher than that. Just like child sex trafficking, like cult
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
to go back to,
But not with a 16-year-old.
Oh, but still, you don't want to hear, like, who wants to hear the tell me more? I don't want to ask tell me more, but I have to ask tell me
I'm
more.
feeling uncomfortable.
Like, great, I don't want to hear more, but
Yeah.
you need
So
to
what
hear
happens
more.
next?
What happens? I literally, you can hear me sometimes. What happens next? Like, oh no, I know what's coming next, and I don't want to hear you say it, but you need to hear it. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna leave this here.
Power through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna close that door. We're gonna leave it in the past, and yeah, take our lessons forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So setting down the burdens, like just being free for being free for you to be the most you can be, right? For the freedom that comes with that, that's a payoff. What else, Erica, what else is a payoff? Like, why bother? Why not go with the program? Why focus on bringing your authenticity to the world?
Because I think that's the purpose of life.
Mm.
Like that's why we're here. That's what we came in to do. We
Mhm.
came in to have certain experiences, to learn certain things and to be ourselves, to like grow more into what our inner being, what our bigger self knows we are.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's necessary. Like we go through life not being authentic and not stepping into our true purpose of being authentically ourselves, then it's a do-over. Come back.
Exactly. You missed the whole point. And then you're going to get to the other side and your soul's going to go,
Look what I did. Yeah.
let's do that again.
If I can do this better next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Um, so we said, unveiling the true self. What does that even mean to you guys? Like, how do you define true self? Is it the same thing as higher self or soul, or is there some intermediate true self, or how do you see the selves, Erica?
Well, my first response, true self, is going to be whatever's in your heart. So again, authenticity is love. So however do you love yourself best? And how are you helping in the world? Because seeing yourself as a part of the oneness, knowing that you need to put your own air mask on first, right? So always coming from your heart and what your heart wants, and being able to listen to that, I think is huge. And then in terms of, wow, who we really are, that bigger aspect, I mean, there's our little me, and then there's our bigger me, and then there's all these multidimensional aspects in between. And that's kind of the fun thing about being in this human suit, I feel like, because we get to explore all of those through the veil and see what we can figure out about those bigger aspects of ourselves, because we're multidimensional. And yeah, it's just too much to even think about who we really are.
Yeah.
We're all of it. We're everything. We're creator at the end of the day.
And I think that's also kind of a challenging part of growing through being a QHHT practitioner, because you're in conversation with these magnificent, connected to source in eternity kind of voice, knowing, and so then connecting back to that, not necessarily reflecting back to that, but connecting back to that for yourself. And then one of the things that kind of helps me is to go, because I'm sure you guys have had clients that had other lives as animals, or people from other planets, or rocks, or stars, or mountains, or whatever, right? I mean, the other lives that we see in QHHT sessions aren't just other humans, right? And so when you begin to think, oh, I too am that kind of an aspect, and I decided to come in and wear this monkey suit as a human being, which meant for a human being, it's a unique experience, because we have this ego thing, right? Like horses don't necessarily have egos. Eagles don't necessarily have egos, right? Not the way humans do. So if I'm wrestling with my ego, well, that's just part of the human experience. And I incarnated to have this human experience. So isn't that cool to see this aspect of the monkey suit, the ego full of fear and inauthenticity, and not real love. But that's just a part of this one little tiny experience that I chose, the bigger me, the true me, chose to have, It's interesting.
Well, we can't have those experiences if we don't come here.
Right.
Because over there, all we get is the love piece. And so we can't fully understand the spectrum of it
Right.
all.
Right. Do you guys get clients? Speaking of that, I've had a handful, not many, but who are like, I just want to go back there. They're not suicidal legitimately, but it's just like, I just want to get the hell out of here. And it's like, do you know how special this experience is? This is,
Do you know you line to get here? Do you know that you got a special ticket because you were supposed to be here at this time in this special energy, because you're able to ascend? Like, you have the option. So many people didn't, and so they're not here.
right.
That's such a neat thing to think about too. Everyone who's here on the planet at this time has the option, if they want, to ascend with the planet.
Yeah.
They don't get to be here otherwise.
If you're alive right now, you got the golden ticket.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Wow. So how do you define true self, Jessica? What is that? What is that? What about the selves?
Well, I think you said, how do you, what did you ask? How did you ask it to Erica? Like, how do you
How,
tap
how do you
into?
define what do you consider the true self?
I mean, I think that's like the what we call in QHHT the SC, right? And I think connecting with your authenticity is, I think we're always in a different place in our life where we're trying to let that guy out, and shine his light to the world. But for the most part, we keep him closed up because society and programming and, just past experiences and fear keep him locked in. We want to make sure he's going to be safe. So I think different pieces, we're constantly in the process or on a journey of trying to let our most authentic self fly free.
Very good. Very good.
I think that's a really good point that you just made, Jessica, because really, if we're listening to that piece all the time, then that's it. We
Mhm.
are in our, because it's constantly telling us,
Mhm.
hey, speak up for yourself. Hey, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever it is.
yeah.
Mhm.
So a couple of comments coming in about being moms, being a parent. So I have to remind myself that with my children, they're 21 and 27, and I still want to be mom and fix things. And it's hard to remember that they have their own journey. Yeah. And then I know my purpose here was to bring my children into this world. They're incredible human beings. Yeah.
My sister-in-law said something so poignant when her little ones were younger and they were going through something that was just rough. And I was like, oh my God, how are you letting them, like, how are you not doing anything about this? And she was like, because they need to learn how to do it now. Let them do it now so that it's easier for when it gets harder when they're older. And I was like, oh, I wish somebody would have told me that before I raised my daughter. Because you want to fix everything. You want to make it better. It hurts us more when they cry than it hurts them. They don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's
Right.
just the whole process. I mean, I feel like the job of being a parent is a constant struggle of like wanting to protect and just make sure your baby is going to be safe at all costs. And then on the other hand, letting them go so that they can have their experiences and learn from those rather than us protecting them from the potential.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
Protecting them from the learning is what we're doing. Like just being that block in the way of, no, you're not learning. I'm gonna protect you from it.
Not today.
Yeah. All right. Um, so what advice do you get in sessions from the SC, higher self, super conscious, whatever, true self, whatever we want to call it, eternal aspect of you? What advice do you get from them about how to bring them into your life?
Bring the higher self in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Integrate them
Mhm.
into a human life.
Mhm.
What
I
do
think,
they say about it?
yeah, I think Erica nailed it earlier. She was meditate.
The
I
number
get
one
that a
advice.
lot. And sometimes it's like the answer to like, 10 or 15 questions is just, let me guess, meditate. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I had to ask anyways.
Yeah, that was the answer. And then
Also,
sometimes,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, sorry, finish.
Oh no, I think it's also like again, just listening to that inner voice. When you should have said something, or you should have set this boundary, or you shouldn't have done this thing. Like you know that deep within. So it's just listening to that more and more, taking action and paying attention, I think is just so important.
Mhm. I forget what I was going to say.
Like,
Sorry.
I'm trying to think of even recently, have I had a session where the higher self didn't say meditate? I mean, they almost always
Yeah.
have
It's
that advice.
beneficial.
I remember now. The other thing they say is breathe.
Oh
Breathe.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that they'll say, you know, like those movement practices, the energy work, like the qigong or stuff like that, if they're already doing maybe something like that, or
Mm.
even like the dancing and the singing, if that's something that they're inclined to, like all of those ways are ways. But meditation, number one.
Yeah.
Nobody gets
Yeah.
away. Nobody can get away without spending this time, without this practice. So like if you want to understand what's going on in here, you have to go in there.
Right. Right. And I've also, I think just specifically, because I'll get into the conversation. So they'll always say, he needs to meditate. So then I want it to be like super specific for the client. So I'll say, well, like, what do you mean? Like, how does he meditate? How often? How long? You know, to get into the details. And it's always like, it's not for hours, it's for minutes. You know, it varies person by person, but it's usually 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. But every day,
Yep.
every day, they always say every day, because it's a practice, right? It's a not a ritual, but a just this a habit that needs to be developed. You know, it's just like going to the gym. It's like, well, if you go once a year, you're going to hurt yourself, right? You got to do a little bit every day, every day, every day, every day.
Well, like, you know, we were talking about the negativity and the spiral that can happen in our minds when we do that, right?
Mhm.
Well, when we're meditating, that doesn't happen so easily
Mhm.
because we can even recognize, oh, I'm in this spiral. I don't want to be, maybe I can breathe, maybe I can come back to center, maybe I can get quiet. And the more you have that practice, then you find that, you know, life's a little easier,
Yeah. Yeah.
less
Yep.
stressful, a
Yep.
little anxious.
All right. So guys are already out of time. Can you believe this? Wow. I
Okay.
love these chats. I just love them. I love all my QHHT colleagues. They're so cool. So, well, let's wrap it up. I want you to tell everybody, well, hang on, let me make sure we haven't left anybody hanging. Nope, with comments. Tell everybody, what are you working on? What are you excited about in your life right now? And then how do they contact you? So, Jessica?
Gosh, I really don't know. I'm trying to just power through everything right now. I am a mom. I do have another full-time job that I do, and then I do QHHT as well. So it's just trying to juggle and balance everything and remembering not to people please and remembering that everyone's journey isn't my own and but still helping as much as I can where I can. So
And so where are you and how do people
I'm
come
in
and see?
Jacksonville, Florida, and I can be found at shininglighthypnosis.com.
Yay. All right. Cool. Erica, what are you working on? What's exciting you right now?
Well, what I've been working on since, you know, I don't know, like 15 years now is a book, and maybe it's 3 books really. So that'll get done eventually when it's supposed to be done. And I think what will happen first is going to be I have a YouTube channel that's coming. There's the channel's there. There's no content, but the channel's there. It's called Awaken Within with me. And yeah, there I'm going to be sharing we're just exploring the magic of creation and our energy systems and understanding ourselves and connecting to our higher selves and really all the fun esoteric metaphysical things to help us understand ourselves more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. My website is drerica.love, DRERICA.love. And yeah, anything will be on that website.
Cool. Awesome. So I am working on book number 3. So I did a couple years ago, I did Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. And so it's just a whole bunch of QHHT sessions and compiling the answers to what is my life purpose, what is my life lesson, and how do I commune with the higher self. So that one came out. And I didn't realize it was a trilogy that they had given me the assignment for at the time. So I got the second one out last year, and that was Finding Forgiveness. surprising healing from the higher self, because that's another very, very common prescription that the higher self gives people in QHHT sessions is forgiveness. And so that one's all about the process of forgiveness from the higher self perspective. Is it just as easy as saying, I forgive you? There's a little bit of inner work to be done there to really forgive as a healing process. And then I'm in the middle of the last one, which is finding gratitude, surprising growth from the higher self. So how that gratitude and growth go together. And that's the point of being here, is soul growth, right? And so if we want to accelerate that soul growth and reap as much as we can out of this opportunity and get the benefit out of it from a soul growth standpoint, gratitude's the key. So that one's in the works. So, and I'm at AwareCareDurango.com, AwareCareDurango.com, which is Durango, Colorado, which is absolutely nowhere close to Denver.
Nowhere close.
Nowhere close. Closer to Moab, Santa Fe, Sedona, those kinds of places.
Yeah.
All right. So we have thank you. Amazing love to all of you. Totally amazing. So all sorts of gratitude for our listening audience tonight. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Erica, for chatting with me. And thank you, everybody who joined us tonight, or everybody who's listening after the live. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.